Hi, I'm Bernadette Wagner, and I'd like to welcome you to today's program of Healing, Hope, and Health. This program is dedicated to sharing Hospice of Washington County's mission, informing the public about its services, and celebrating its partnerships within the community. It's my great pleasure to introduce Mrs. Louise Dawson, a woman who has found an extraordinary way to partner with Hospice of Washington County. Mrs. Dawson, who is an incredibly talented crochet enthusiast, handcrafted 5 beautiful Afghans and donated them as raffle items with the goal of raising both funds for and awareness of the organization that she says truly helped her husband in his final days. Welcome, Louise.
Thank you.
I'd also like to introduce Amanda Fiery, a recent college graduate who is working as an intern at Hospice of Washington County's Development Office. Mandy is a talented young woman who has helped to lead many successful events for Hospice of Washington County, including our 35th anniversary reception and art exhibition, and the Gift of Hospice. In addition to her other responsibilities, Mandy is leading the effort to raffle the Afghan created by Mrs. Dawson. Welcome, Mandy.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you could both be here. So, Louise, maybe we could start with you. And first of all, let me ask you, how many years have you been crocheting?
I started crocheting when I was a senior in high school, which was many years ago, but then I didn't do it for many years while I was raising my family. So I'd say 20 years ago I really got into it.
Okay, that's great. And how many children did you raise?
4.
Okay, well, that's pretty good. And how long did it take you to make each of these Afghans?
A week to 2 weeks, depending on the Afghan.
Okay. And when did you find time to crochet?
I find time to crochet after I do my errands and go to the pool and come back and settle in, and then I crochet for the evening.
Okay. I understand that you've donated Afghans to a couple other organizations that you have supported their missions. Can you tell us about those organizations?
I do for 4 private schools. I do for the city of Hagerstown for some of their events. I do for Diacon Daycare. I do for the Dolman Black Museum. I do almost anything that is local.
That's great. Thank you for all your service to the community. Mandy, how long have you been an intern with Hospice of Washington County?
I started in the end of September when I moved back to Hagerstown after graduating school. So.
Okay. And you graduated from Elon?
Yes, I did.
Great, great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And can you tell us, our viewers, some of the responsibilities, the ways you have participated and supported the Development Office?
I've been collecting research mainly to improve awareness of hospice in the generations that are younger than most people that tend to think of hospice, so between 20 and 40. And I help to set up events, like you mentioned earlier, the art exhibit as well as the Gift of Hospice.
And what was your favorite part in working on those events?
I think just getting to know more about what the organization does. I grew up in the community knowing about hospice, but I think just really realizing the impact that it can have on everybody is amazing.
Yeah, and I also think that because you grew up in the community, you have a natural connection with some of the people here, and I think that supports and helps our organization move forward too.
I love being here.
Yeah, that's great. Louise, can you tell us what inspired you to make these Afghans?
My husband had hospice for almost 6 months, and everybody that came in, the nurses, the chaplain, and the social worker, they all said what beautiful crocheting I did, and I figured that we needed Doey's House in our community, and that's why I decided to make these.
So Doey's House is the inpatient hospice home that we will be breaking ground on this spring.
Right.
That's great. Well, it's so great of you to support that effort. Mandy, you're spearheading the raffle for Mrs. Dawson's Afghans. Can you tell us about your efforts and how folks are still interested in getting tickets, how they can go about doing that?
Absolutely. We had ads in the newspaper as well as the around the town columns and on our website and our Facebook page. So if you want to still buy tickets, you can call into the office and ask for anybody in development, or you can go online to the donate, and in one of the tabs you can just specify that this is for the Afghan raffle. We're selling 1 ticket for $5 and 3 tickets for $10.
Okay, and what is that number that folks call? 301, I think 791-6360, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And Mrs. Dawson, of the 5 Afghans that you donated to hospice, they have some lovely animals. And do you have a favorite of those Afghans?
I like the baby Afghan with the mischievous kitten in the middle picking up yarn.
And I have to ask you a question as a crocheter myself, but not nearly at your ability levels. It looks almost more like cross stitch, and I was wondering, do you have a pattern that you use to create
I
this?
always have a pattern. I can't do anything without a pattern,
Okay.
unless I make plain squares.
Well, I can do the plain squares without a
Right.
pattern too. But is it, do you carry your yarn through the projects, or do you have to cut and clip the yarns?
I have to cut and clip some of it, and I have it all over the floor when I'm working on it every place.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine. I took a look at that and I thought I could never ever do this. It's quite remarkable. And Mandy, I was wondering, could you just briefly tell us what your long-term plans are when you finish your internship year here at hospice?
I plan to go back to grad school in the next fall. I'm not sure where. I have a list and applications are due very soon, but I definitely want to continue that and look to go into industrial organizational psychology.
And do you have a career goal in mind with that? Do you want to do private counseling? Or?
I would love to do consulting and something in that firm. I love, now that I have worked with nonprofits, I would love to stick with that. So hopefully keep my fingers crossed that it all works out.
Well, that's great. I'd like to thank you both for joining us today and for being on our program. Louise, thank you for the beautiful Afghans that you have made that will benefit Doey's House. And as our viewers probably know, this house will serve people in all our community, not just those that can afford it. So it's a tremendous gift.
You're quite
Mandy,
welcome.
Thank you so much for organizing the Raffle of the Afghans. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
I'd like to thank Mandy and Louise for joining us on today's show, and thank Louise for sharing her talents in a way that supports HWC's mission. I recently read a quote by an unknown author. It said, "Asking a seamstress to mend is like asking Michelangelo to paint your garage." Similarly, asking Louise to crochet just a scarf would be like asking Michelangelo to paint just one side of one garage. She's a crocheting virtuoso, and Hospice of Washington County is grateful to her for her support. Again, if you would like to purchase tickets, please call Hospice of Washington County at 301-791-6360 and ask for Mandy Firey. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
I'm the hometown favorite.
I'll outsmart you.
I will beat you.
I'll be surrounded by fans cheering me on.
There's no place like home for fighting cancer.
My turf.
My time.
My team.
Expert care. Close to home. The John R. Marsh Cancer Center at Meritus Health.
I've been working with Linda McCullum now for 20 years. The people in the office are very knowledgeable of what they do, and they're also very caring and customer-oriented. My little granddaughter, when she says, "Pappy, I love you," that's just so precious. If I wouldn't have had the hearing aid on, I wouldn't have heard it.
Let McCollum Hearing Center help you rediscover the sounds of your life.
Hi, I am Dr. Olenzak at the Pain and Spine Institute. I specialize in the most advanced procedures and technology available in pain management. At your visits and procedures, you will always see me for continuity of care. I would like to thank all of my patients for allowing me to provide you with the specialized care that you need. To give you this level of care requires a team. This is your team at the Pain and Spine Institute. To become a patient, call 301-739-7900 or go to painfree-md.com.
Welcome back to Healing, Hope, and Health. On our last program, bereavement specialist Maggie Terry discussed special challenges faced by those who are grieving during the holidays and shared some helpful coping strategies. Other professionals, especially pastors and other religious leaders who are on the front lines of offering grief support, are all too aware of how the joy of the holiday season can exacerbate feelings of loneliness and sadness for the grieving of a loved one. Today we are joined by Michael Bynum, pastor of the Hancock United Methodist Church since July 2012. He received his undergraduate degree from Virginia Polytechnic Institute in Blacksburg, Virginia, and he obtained a Master's of Divinity from Wesley Theological Seminary. Pastor Bynum joins us today to talk about Blue Christmas, a special service aimed at supporting those who are grieving. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Bernadette. I'm excited to be here.
I'm glad you are here too. So can you tell us, just to get us started, tell our viewers a little bit about your church in Hancock, where it's located and how many members?
Well, Hancock is located in downtown Hancock. We're at 170 East Main Street. We worship about 120 to 140 folks on Sunday morning. We're an active congregation where we believe in building relationships with each other and our community with Jesus at the center.
And you have a pretty strong youth group there, right?
Yes, we do. We restarted it up back in this past spring, and it's going like gangbusters. I have some phenomenal youth in our community that are part of it right now.
That's great. And so you're hosting this Blue Christmas this year for the first time. Yes. Can you tell us what attendees might expect to experience at this service?
Well, it's a service that's intended to be more of a contemplative type service. It'll be quiet. There's a lot of liturgy that's going to go back and forth. I'm actually not even going to be preaching that evening. We're going to let Scripture speak to us, because I believe more than anything else, Scripture can speak a word of hope better than any one person can do. So it'll be quiet. The atmosphere will be soothing, I hope. We're trying to create a sacred place where folks can come and be part of something bigger than themselves, realizing that whatever they're dealing with this particular season, they're not alone. There are other people struggling too.
And will music be part of the service? Or?
We will have some music. There'll be a couple hymns that we'll sing, but they're more of for example, one of the hymns we'll be singing is O Come, Emmanuel, which is a very contemplative type hymn. And we do have a soloist. Tracy Barnhart will be singing Breath of Heaven by Amy Grant. We're very privileged to have her doing that for us.
That's great. So how did you reach a decision to offer Blue Christmas? Was this a need you saw, or did your board, do you have a church board that came to this decision?
Well, my wife and I have attended churches in the past that have done this type of service, and we're looking for the right environment and the right time to put that together. And with my working with you at the hospice center there in Hancock, and experiencing and going through the death process with several different people in our community recently, it just became very apparent that it was time to try to put that together here in Hancock and provide that type of service for people that are going through losses at this time of year.
Michael, would it be appropriate for people who are feeling blue for other reasons also attend, or is this primarily just for people who have lost a loved one?
It's absolutely for anybody that's struggling at this time of year. Not just a loss of a loved one, but we talk about loss of job, loss of income, loss of disease and illnesses that you're dealing with. Anything that would create grief, sorrow, pain, loneliness in your life. That's what we're trying to set up a situation for people to deal with.
You're looking to support them through that grief and also connect them with others.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So is the Blue Christmas service just for your congregants, or is it open to the whole community?
No, it's absolutely open to the whole community. Our church is a tri-state community, so we're drawing from the West Virginia community, the Pennsylvania community into Hancock, and we want to reach into all of those communities. There's no other service that I'm aware of like this in our region, so we really do want everybody in the community to be a part of this. We've reached out to the other pastors in the community, yourself, and trying to get the word out as far as we can to let people know that it is going to be here.
And what do you hope that the participants come away with? What's your hope for the evening?
A sense of, I think it's a sense of knowing that they're not alone, that even in spite of how hard this time of year can be for some of us and how lonely we feel, I think it's important for folks to know that there are other folks going through those same tough times, and not that it's okay, but at the same time, it is okay. It's part of the process. It's part of the grieving process.
It's part of that journey.
It's the journey that we were talking about the other night. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Michael, I was wondering, as Hospice of Washington County offers grief and bereavement service, we also want to offer support to pastors who do so much of the grief counseling on the front lines. Is there something that you as a pastor would want us to do in addition to support your efforts?
Bernadette, I think hospice is really doing everything that I would want them to do right now. The main thing I would like to say to that comment is that as a pastor, I'm not a counselor. We pastors, we listen and we have conversations with folks. And when those conversations move beyond the aspect of just a conversation into counseling, I am so blessed to have in my community hospice that I can point folks to that are dealing with grief. So if you just continue to do your workshops and your group sessions and providing that one-on-one opportunity for when folks are really suffering, and supporting the pastors. I mean, the pastors in our community are very grateful for your support of us and what we do. And so I think it's a wonderful partnership, and I love it.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Pastor Bynum for joining us on Healing, Hope, and Help, and for sharing a comforting message of support and hope. During this holiday season, when gifts are both given and received, I'm grateful to the Hancock United Methodist Church congregation for sharing the gift of the Blue Christmas service. Remember, if you want to attend the service, it will be held on December 21st at 7 p.m. For more information, you can call Hancock United Methodist Church at 301-678-6440. We'll be right back after this message.
People don't realize it takes a lot to care for a family member in your home. John's dad was very headstrong, so I think that was a lot for him to get over and try to come to terms with that he had terminal illness. I would recommend everybody to get hospice involved at the get-go. When you first learn about it, get it set up. It's going to make it, I mean, it's terrible what you're going through already, but it's going to make it easier for you in the long run because we couldn't have done it without them.
Call hospice today. Hospice of Washington County, when time matters most.
I've been working with Linda McCullum now for 20 years. The people in the office are very knowledgeable of what they do, and they're also very caring and customer oriented. My little granddaughter, when she says, "Pappy, I love you," that's just so precious. If I wouldn't have had the hearing aid on, I wouldn't have heard it.
Let McCollum Hearing Center help you rediscover the sounds of your life.
From the smallest item of jewelry to the largest ceramic elephant, every 10,000 Villages handcrafted product makes a remarkable journey.
All over the world, our products travel similar paths, over thousands of miles and years of artistic tradition. Our handcrafted gifts represent work that builds villages and sustains souls. They are the dream of a better life made real. Every product is a miracle.
Welcome back. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Karen Cook, the Executive Director of the Robert W. Johnson Community Center. Hospice of Washington County is pleased to partner with the Robert W. Johnson Center in hosting the 4th annual MLK Day of Service Business Basketball Tournament on Monday, January 18, 2016. The tournament celebrates Dr. King's legacy and enables Hospice of Washington County the opportunity to build meaningful relationships with members of our community, which in the past has been underserved. Karen joins us today to talk about the 4th annual MLK Day of Service Business Basketball Tournament, one of Hospice of Washington County's most successful partnerships. Welcome, Karen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'd also like to welcome Camilla Scott, one of the students who regularly attends the center and who wrote a letter to local businesses about the tournament. Welcome, Camilla. I'm so glad you could be here today.
Thank you.
So Karen, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about the tournament, its purpose, and the goals?
Sure. As you mentioned, this is our 4th annual. The purpose of this tournament is to invite businesses into our community to get a feel for who we are, what we do, and likewise, or vice versa, for our community to get to know other businesses. So the partnership between Robert W. Johnson Community Center and Hospice of Washington County has definitely engaged more of our community members to the services that hospice offers. Some of the other organizations that have participated have been the Hagerstown Police Department, the Police Athletic League, Best Buy, Chick-fil-A, and our returning champions would be the Washington County Public Schools Smithsburg High under direction of Mike Chilcutt.
Yeah, and I think that they have players from a couple different schools.
Yes,
but,
they do.
Mike Chilcutt, is the principal there, is definitely the team leader.
Yes, he's a team leader.
Yeah, that's great. Camilla, you drafted a letter to local businesses. We're trying to get the youth engaged. And can you tell us how it feels to know that you're being the voice of the youth in that community?
When y'all first sent out letters, no one wanted to participate because they said if students get to participate, they will actually do it. But if all the parents get to do it, they're not going to participate. So when I heard that they were going to ask the students of the Robert W. Johnson Center to help out and send out letters to them to help us, to sponsor us for those leaderships and for the scholarships and improvement funds. I took part in that, and I said, yes, I will do it, and I will help out, and we can get this done. And I'm very happy for people to come out and help us with that.
That's great, and I do think that's exactly true. We've heard from businesses saying, if this is really to benefit the students, we'd like to see them more engaged. So Camilla was one of those students who stepped forward along with Fleur to write letters and to help us engage the businesses. So thank you so much for that service. Karen, this year's tournament, it was going to raise funds for 2 specific purposes. Can you talk about what those 2 purposes are?
Yes. Again, this year we're raising funds for our capital needs projects and for our Robert W. Johnson Scholarship Fund.
Okay.
The building being 125 years always needs repairs, and the scholarship fund is something new that we started with this tournament 4 years ago, and we are able to offer scholarships to deserving high school students going into 2 or 4 year colleges.
That's great. And how many scholarships have we offered so far in the past?
So far we've offered 6, 2 each year.
That's great. And every successful fundraiser and tournament needs sponsors. Have you procured or any sponsors yet for this year?
I am hoping that our sponsors will return. There, as in planning anything, is always the last minute, but I do want to make mention of Meritus, who has been a a gold level sponsor for the past 3 years. I'd like to mention AC&T, who's also been a gold level sponsor last year. Hopefully they will come back again. We do have some other sponsors of Callis Contractors, Granite Guys, State Farm Insurance is also sponsoring. So we have some sponsors lined up and still getting on board.
But you're not opposed to people watching the show saying, hey, I'd like to sponsor.
Not at all.
So if somebody's interested in sponsoring the tournament, what number can they reach you at?
They can reach us at 301-790-0203.
Perfect. The youth will not be playing in this tournament, Karen, but they will definitely be involved. Can you tell us what sorts of things they'll be doing?
Yes, the youth are doing everything behind the scenes. They are helping us to find sponsors.
They're writing letters.
Right, they're writing letters. They will be cleaning the gym. They will be keeping score. They will be at the front door for admissions. They will be selling concessions. And they'll also be taking part in our halftime performances with poetry and dance and song, I believe.
Which all is a tribute to Dr. King's legacy.
Correct.
That's great. I was just wondering, we have just a little bit of time, Camilla, if you can tell us if you participated in any of the halftime performances last year.
I actually wasn't there last year.
Okay.
But this year I'll actually be participating in the dance routine and recited poetry. And my favorite part is going to be dancing, because that's what I like to do, and that's my favorite habit.
That's great. Well, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Karen and Camilla for joining us today and for all the hard work that they have done on this tournament. From a Birmingham jail cell, Dr. King wrote, "Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away, and that in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over the great nation with all their scintillating beauty." The MLK Day Basketball Tournament brings people of diverse backgrounds together and empowers youth to be of service and raises scholarship funds for minority students. It is a step in the right direction of fulfilling Dr. King's hope. We'll be right back after this short message.
Arbors Carson Jewelers has been your community jeweler for over 110 years. We have the region's largest selection of diamonds, designer jewelry, including bridal, gold, and silver fashion jewelry, and fine Swiss timepieces. We strive to combine quality, expert personal attention, and affordable financing to create an exceptional shopping experience aimed at exceeding your expectations. At Carson's Jewelers, there's something for everyone that will bring a smile to that someone special in your life.
I'm the hometown favorite.
I'll outsmart you.
I will beat you.
I'll be surrounded by fans cheering me on.
There's no place like home for fighting cancer.
My turf.
My time.
My team.
Expert care, close to home. The the John R. Marsh Cancer Center at Meritus Health.
From the smallest item of jewelry to the largest ceramic elephant, every 10,000 Villages handcrafted product makes a remarkable journey.
All over the world, our products travel similar paths, over thousands of miles and years of artistic tradition. Our handcrafted gifts represent work that builds villages and sustains souls. They are the dream of a better life made real. Every product is a miracle.
People don't realize it takes a lot to care for a family member in your home. John's dad was very headstrong, so I think that was a lot for him to get over and try to come to terms with that he had terminal illness. I would recommend everybody to get hospice involved at the get-go. When you first learn about it, get it set up. It's going to make it, I mean, it's terrible what you're going through already, but it's going to make it easier for you in the long run because we couldn't have done it without them.
Call Hospice today. Hospice of Washington County, when time matters most.
Welcome back. I'm glad you're still with us because my next guest is so very interesting. I'd like to introduce Patty Worsley, who calls herself the happiness doctor. Patty makes people of all ages feel better, not by giving them medicine, but by engaging them in the joy of music. Patty received a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education from Bowling Green State University and is currently the lead musician at the Unitarian Church in Hagerstown. Patty has a special interest in teaching children through music, which she calls edutainment. Patty joins us today to talk about her special volunteer project with Hospice of Washington County. Patty, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me, Bernadette.
So before we talk about what you did for hospice, can you just tell us a little bit about your musical background, what instruments you play, and what age groups you like to work with best?
Well, right now I love working with little children because that's my passion. I was trained as an elementary school teacher, and I found that they needed a little boost in their self-esteem. And so I've created a little book and CD to go with that. But I work with people of all ages. As you know, I'm in church, and so we have all ages at church. And I have been working with senior citizens lately too, as the happiness doctor.
That's great. And can you tell our viewers about the event you played in Hancock for the Hancock Nitwits?
Well, it was a great event because I'd never heard of the Nitwits before. And
we say that very lovingly.
Yes, it was K-N-I-T-S. And so I just played Christmas music, but it was so humbling for me because here were these ladies who just knitted, and that was their passion, and they knitted blankets for people in the hospital and gave them their homemade love. And so then I tried to match that by giving my homemade love with music, Christmas music.
That's great. And you had a chance to meet the Nitwits, and they're inspiring folks, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
That's great.
They're great.
I know people enjoy your music, but what do you do, what do you get by sharing your music? What do you receive by sharing your music with others? How does that fulfill you?
Well, it fulfills me because at a very early age I learned that music calms me down. And so I get, whenever people start to tap their toes or tap their fingers or whatever, or start to sing, that they're no longer agitated or they're no longer feeling depressed.
Distressed or depressed, right.
Exactly. And one thing I learned is you can't fight and sing at the same time. So I feel like I am doing a little bit for world peace through my music.
That's great. And what would you advise other people who are thinking about sharing their talents at Hospice of Washington County's Life Centers now that you've done a program? Would you encourage other people to do that? Or?
Definitely. And I want to share just a little snippet of a song that I've written, and it has to do with volunteering. It's like when you're feeling depressed or you're feeling blue, there's always something that you can do. Just take a look across this troubled land, find something to help, and lend a helping hand.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad you were here today to share that with us, Patty.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Patty for joining us on today's program. If you, like Patty, have an interest or hobby which you would like to share with others, I hope you'll get in touch with me. I would love to support you in developing and leading a program at any of the Hospice of Washington County's 3 community life centers. You can reach me by calling 301-791-6360 or by email at bmwagner@hospiceofwc.org. Thank you for joining us today. I hope to hear from you. See you next time.